A very good evening. You're watching Unmissable. I'm Nabila, Jamal. We're going to take you through a power-packed hour where we cut through the noise, take you through the biggest stories from India and across the world. Keeping you ahead of the curve, let's start with our three top segments. The day tonight, we're going to take you through the anti-delimitation meet that's going to be happening in Tamil Nadu, the biggest meet, possibly all opposition ruled states coming together to object to delimitation, particularly South India congregating. And then our deep dive segment where we're going to take you through the greater Bengaluru governance bill, which has led to huge showdown amongst the civic body. In fact, more importantly, citizens of Bengaluru who wants this struck down. And then finally our viral watch where we're going to show you the protests that erupted right when Israeli descent Hollywood star Gal Gadot was honored with a Walk of Fame, the star, and you had protests right outside condemning it. All right, diving straight to our top story here. Karnataka indeed today has created history. Not the kind of history you may like. Karnataka Assembly, the Speaker, has suspended 18 MLAs, opposition MLAs, for 6 long months. The longest suspension that Karnataka Assembly has ever handed out to anyone. It all began with high drama. BJP legislators stormed into the well of the House, shouting slogans there, waving papers and tearing some papers and copies of what they believed was the 4% Muslim reservation bill in government contracts. Only it wasn't. In fact, what they told was mistakenly the finance bill, which was passed right that moment amid all that chaos. Lots of confusion prevailed. The BJP leaders thought first the reservation bill was passed and they began tearing it, and then they realized it was the finance bill, in fact. And amid all that ruckus, you had marshals who marched in because 18 of them were suspended, and they literally dragged out 18 BJP MLAs after their suspension was ordered. Now, right after that, it was an opportunity for the Karnataka government. They passed the Muslim reservation bill. Now, 18 MLAs are not going to be part of the assembly for 6 months, which means they will also miss the assembly proceedings, but also won't be able to be part of standing committee meetings as well for the entire 6-month period. Let's take a listen what the BJP suspended MLAs have to say.
The Speaker has suspended our 18 MLAs. This is totally undemocratic. It is totally undemocratic. My first question is, when your own minister, when the ruling party's senior MLA and a senior minister has demanded probe into honey trap issue, why Chief Minister is hesitating? Why is he hesitating to give it to a probe? Bharatiya Janata Party, we have demanded a CBI investigation or by a judicial inquiry by a sitting High Court judge. This is our demand. But Chief Minister and Home Minister, they have not given any clarity regarding the probe.
Unbecoming of our members to behave like that. They were standing next to the swan and all this. They did everything possible, violated everything possible things in that assembly. So they have been expelled.
So you find it a justified step?
This is just 100% justified.
कांग्रेस पार्टी के हम क्या अपेक्षा कर सकता है, उसको कंटिन्यू किया। आज जो 18 अपना विधायकों को सस्पेंड करके हमने क्या डिमांड किया? हनी ट्रैप छोटा विषय है क्या? छोटा मुद्दा है क्या? सीनियर मिनिस्टर उन्होंने आपादन किया हनी ट्रैप का, ट्रैप में जस्टिस लोग भी है, सीनियर ऑफिसर्स है, विधायक है, मंत्री लोग है, उसको ट्रैप करने के लिए एक नेटवर्क है, उसको पीछे बड़ा आदमी है, ऐसा उन्हें आरोप किया। आरोप करने के बाद जांच करने के लिए आदेश किया है क्या?
It is anti-democratic. There is no democracy in Karnataka, only anarchy. The ministers in government are honey-trapped, and allegation is on the government itself. And the chief minister is playing on both the sides. He has intelligence in his command. For the last 6 months, this is going on. Nothing has been done. He is playing both ways. And when this was asked and put an end to this, to bring purity in public life, our MLAs have been thrown out. This is totally undemocratic, and they have to pay for this.
कर्नाटक में कल एक मंत्री ने बताया है 48 MLAs मंत्री अधिकारी और ऐसे कई लोगों के हनी ट्रैपिंग हुआ है और उन्होंने ये भी कहा है हमारे लोग ही किया है, मंत्री किया है, ऐसे कहा है। मैं तो ये पूछना चाहता हूँ ये हनी ट्रैपिंग किया कौन? सरकार के मंत्री और एक मंत्री को क्यों कर रहे हैं, अधिकारियों को क्यों कर रहे हैं, ऑफिसर्स को क्यों कर रहे हैं? अपोजिशन MLA को भी किया है ऐसे बताया गया है, क्यों किया है?
Now giving you a quick glimpse into why BJP is opposing this new Muslim quota bill. The Congress government in Karnataka has introduced a 4% reservation for Muslims under the category 2B for government contracts, anything below 2 crores, and also procurement of goods and services, anything below 1 crore. The BJP is opposing the move, calling this Sarkari Jihad, saying that this is nothing but appeasement politics and the Congress offers Muslims reservation based only on their religion and nothing else, and calling this unconstitutional. Now, taking you through a quick look into what exactly this quota holds right now. The reservation quota broadly across Karnataka and even specifically for the government contracts, SC/ST has 24%, while category 1 has 4%, and category 1 basically includes some of the most backward OBC communities. And then category 2A, that has 15% reservation, and they include primarily moderately backward Hindu communities, and it's a huge section, lots of communities that are clubbed together in this category. And then there's finally category 2B, that was earlier 10% and now is 14%. Category 2B involves largely Muslims, reserved for Muslims, as Muslims under various studies in Karnataka and across India have been classified as socially and economically backward, many sections of the Muslim community. So the Muslims in this category are under the OBC list, but not based on religion, based on backwardness. The Congress says that this move is aimed at helping economically backward Muslim contractors who have been left out of all these contracts despite them being eligible. They don't get a hold of it. They are being denied and deprived. So many of the Muslim leaders and several contractors who feel that they are credible enough to work with the government on contracts, they have asked and pleaded the Siddaramaiah regime to give them a certain quota. So 4% quota was granted to them after much persuasion. The BJP has now turned this into a political flashpoint, not just in the state assembly, also the matter has rocked the parliament in Delhi. Now, BJP promises they're going to challenge this in court. Now, speaking of Bengaluru, we're looking at a massive puja that happened at our very own Sankey tank. The home, literally our neighborhood home tank, as we call it, Sankey tank, which is so popular among Bengalurians, has now been fully lit up, and a concert of sorts that's happening right there. Even as I speak right now, the event is ongoing. Those are the visuals there. One couldn't have ever imagined Sankey tank really turning into such a spectacle. So the event here is to pay homage to the revered river Cauvery, which is Karnataka's lifeline. There you go. That's how it looks right now. Cauvery river that flows into the Sankey tank is being basically appreciated. A puja is being done. So this entire puja is being done drawing inspiration from the Ganga Aarti that happens in Varanasi. And remember, the mastermind, the man who led it and maybe even initiated it, was all D.K. Shivkumar. And this comes in his neighborhood. D.K. Shivkumar stays very much in Sadashiv Nagar. The Sankey tank is right there. Beautiful lake. Earlier, a lot of worries were that it wasn't preserved and whatnot. Now it's cleaned up well, looking beautiful, and here is a one-of-its-kind puja that's being held. Of course, there were many activists, lake activists, who condemned this, saying, let this tank be alone. Don't disturb it, don't dirty it. But well, it's a one-off event, and this is sacred to many of them, and this is what they've decided to do. The Congress government has now carried out this huge Cauvery Aarti puja, and also this, in fact, coincides with World Water Day. So the government has taken this opportunity now to also promote water conservation. And there you have it, those who are watching. This is huge cultural and spiritual significance that they've brought to the Sankey tank now. Sacred waters from the Bhagamandala in Kodagu have been ceremoniously brought in for these special rituals today before being distributed as prasada. And we also see that the BWSSB now pushing people to carry out conservation campaigns. 15,000 people we hear have lined up there. They're all part and parcel of this spectacle. So a live orchestra, Suguma Sangeeta performance by singer Ananya Bhatt, all of that is happening even as I speak right now. Priests from Uttar Pradesh were brought in to conduct a 45-minute aarti honoring the revered river Cauvery that sustains nearly 70% of Bengaluru. All right, cutting across to the big hot topic of delimitation. Tamil Nadu government, the DMK, has invited almost every opposition ruled state to be part of a big meet that's due to happen in Chennai tomorrow, where they're going to discuss delimitation. Now, 7 states and its leaders, including Odisha, Punjab, Bengal, of course, Karnataka, Telangana, all to be part and parcel of this meeting where they're going to discuss on a host of issues. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin, right at the forefront of this meet, has called for joint action committee, all of them to come together to form a committee to oppose what he calls a blatant assault on federalism. He says delimitation is against southern states particularly. They have managed to control their population, and for that they're paying the price by reduced number of representatives in the parliament. Now, in this video, you see Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin reiterating the demand for fair delimitation, raising concerns over its impact and exercise. Listen in.
ஃபேர் டீலிமிட்டேஷன் இதுதான் இப்போ பேசு பொருளாக இருக்குது. திமுக ஏன் இதை பேசு பொருளாக ஆக்குச்சுன்னா 2026 டீலிமிட்டேஷன் கண்டிப்பாக நடந்தே ஆகணும். அப்போது மக்கள் தொகை அடிப்படையில் தொகுதி மறுசீரமைப்பு செஞ்சால் நம்மோட எம்பிக்களுடைய பிரதிநிதித்துவம் பாதிக்கப்படும். இதை உணர்ந்து தான் நம்ம முதல்ல குரல் எழுப்பியிருக்கிறோம். இது எம்பிக்கள் எண்ணிக்கை சார்ந்த பிரச்சனை மட்டும் கிடையாது, நம்ம மாநிலத்துடைய உரிமை சார்ந்த பிரச்சனை. அதனால தான் தமிழ்நாட்டில் இருக்க அனைத்து கட்சிகளையும் அழைச்சி கூட்டம் நடத்தணும்.
All right, and you had a comment coming in from none other than the RSS. RSS chiming in, calling this an attempt by the Tamil Nadu government to create a deliberate north-south divide and to challenge national unity.
When it comes to delimitation, the central government, our Home Minister has, I think he has told in Parliament also, in Coimbatore about 20-25 days back, that it will be held based on the ratio. That is, if some southern state is having some number of Lok Sabha seats, today in 544 total number of seats, that ratio will be held as it is when it is expanded. If it is expanded, the whole decision has to be taken by the central government. It's not the space for RSS to say something, how much number, how much ratio, all those things. But as per media reports, I have also read that Home Minister has told the press in Coimbatore the same ratio will be held when it is expanded. But other than this, there are many things, as I said, mostly politically motivated when it comes to, for example, having the symbol of rupee or in a local language, or about language. So these things could be addressed.
All right, shifting our focus now to a big bust allegedly at Delhi High Court judge's home. Yashwant Verma, Justice Yashwant Sharma, was condemned after there were allegations that a huge cash pile was found inside his house when the fire broke out inside his residence and the fire tenders reached his home to basically douse the fire. They found this cash pile. Now there's a big twist in the case. The director of Delhi Fire Services, Atul Garg, has claimed that firefighters did not find a single penny while dousing fire at the Justice Verma's official residence. This is what claims are, and this completely contradicts earlier reports that massive stacks of unaccounted for cash was recovered, allegedly discovered after a fire that broke out at the judge's home. Now with Justice Verma, we hear when that incident happened of fire breaking out, he was out of town. His family, in fact, called the fire brigade as soon as fire was reported inside the house premises. What followed, according to initial claims, really shocked us. First responders were said to have stumbled upon large amounts of cash, even capturing pictures and videos targeting, in fact, it suggested that Justice Verma was corrupt. There was a lot of money that was found inside his house, and this triggered a whole lot of conversation. And it also said immediately right after this reports were out that Justice Verma has been transferred. Now it seems like the whole story has been turned around. Supreme Court has stepped in, and the Supreme Court clarifies that yes, we have initiated an inquiry into the fire and the cash incident at his home, allegedly, but his transfer has nothing to do with this incident. That was a separate ongoing inquiry into transferring him. Now, meanwhile, in an official statement, you have setting the record straight here, clarifying the proposed transfer is the Supreme Court specifically. If I could play that out for you, that's the quote there of, or rather a formal declaration by the Supreme Court where it says, there's misinformation and rumors being spread with regards to incident at the residence of Justice Yashwant Verma. The proposal for transfer of Mr. Justice Yashwant Verma is independent and separate from the in-house inquiry procedure. So this is a formal presser that the Supreme Court has issued, which sets the record straight. But still, lots of questions now being raised. Now, in the meanwhile, when there was talk about his transfer, the Allahabad High Court Bar Association was quick to respond. They took a bold stand, flatly rejecting Justice Verma's proposed repatriation. So in a letter to the Chief Justice of India, the association made it quite clear that we are not welcoming any tainted judges to our court.
I think that it's time for the Supreme Court to start looking at issues of how the appointment process should take place. That it should be more transparent, appointments should be more carefully done. There's another judge of the Allahabad High Court, as you know, against whom the collegium called him for an explanation and he chose not to. But it sent the wrong signal. That means that a judge can say what he wants to say. And conduct himself in whatever manner he wants to conduct himself, and the collegium will remain silent and not take any proactive action. That also sends a wrong signal to the public at large.
देखिए, आप सब जानते हैं न्यायपालिका कैसे चलती है या न्यायपालिका की ताकत क्या है। डेमोक्रेसी के 3 पार्ट, लेजिस्लेचर है, आप चुन के भेजते हैं, कौन चुनता है? पब्लिक। उसके बाद क्या आता है? एग्जीक्यूटिव। उसी में चुने में से कुछ लोग एग्जीक्यूटिव में आते हैं। और तीसरा पार्ट है न्यायपालिका। न्यायपालिका की ताकत कौन है? पब्लिक। तीनों पूरे इंटायर नेशन जो डेमोक्रेटिक सिस्टम है उसकी ताकत है पब्लिक। अगर पब्लिक का विश्वास न्यायपालिका से हटेगा तो क्या होगा ये खुद आप अंदाज लगा लीजिए, पूरा देश कोलैप्स करके नीचे चला जाएगा।
Judges are expected to be in a expect a lot of people, trust is there in the functioning of the judiciary. And if this kind of cash is discovered in the residence of a judge, either this is a matter which is almost a week old now, so probably there is no explanation forthcoming from the judge. And if there is no explanation forthcoming, then this has to be taken very seriously. And in my view, transferring is not a solution. Because transferring, if he starts, if he's doing this kind of a thing and if he goes and does it in his parent high court, that really is not a solution.
You know, we really wonder where the truth lies here. Was there cash recovery or not? With 2 drastically conflicting versions, the spotlight, of course, is now on the in-house probe committee that will be probing into these allegations, and the fire department's internal records will possibly be a telltale. Here we're looking at a revenge that panned out in Pune that's left 4 people killed. Some shocking case that's come to light here. What was initially thought to be a tragic accident has now been confirmed as cold, deliberate murder. A company's minibus that was carrying 14 employees in Pune was set on fire by the own company's employee. In fact, the driver himself, he was the accused. He was driving for the company management and he decided to set this van on fire because his salary was cut by the management. The accused, Janardhan Hambardekar, allegedly planned this attack much in advance, and right on Wednesday morning, as the vehicle approached the Hinjawadi IT park, that's the accused on your screens there, as it approached the Hinjawadi IT park, he lit a cloth soaked in toner and benzene. If we could switch to CCTV footage, I could show you the images there of how, there you have it, that bus there abruptly stops, both highly, where we know that the driver lit a match to a inflammable cloth inside the bus and then quickly jumped out of the bus while the vehicle was moving. And what he did was left the passengers strapped inside and left them to be bearing the brunt of it. They were burnt alive. 4 employees of the Vyoma Graphics were killed, burnt beyond recognition. 10 others were injured. These are people who succumbed, unfortunately. In fact, this is very tragic. What we see here, survivors recounting choking, smoke-locked exits and absolute panic. This is what the survivors recount. Hambardekar, the accused, has since confessed to the crime. He told the police that he was pushed to the edge because of a pay cut. Look at that. Those are images there where bodies were trapped. They couldn't exit. They were stuck in that van which was moving and ablaze. You know, whatever said, he told the police that he was pushed to the edge because of pay cut. None of those who died there were responsible for his salary cut. So no excuses for this twisted act. But also this chilling incident at the same time peels back a darker layer. The emotional fragility and economic pressure that many employees face in the aftermath of salary cuts and job losses that's currently rampant in India.
कल इंजोड़ में जो हादसा हुआ था, वो हादसा जो बस ड्राइवर है उसने उसको अंजाम दिया है। तहकीकात में ये पता चला है कि उसने उसके जो साथ वाले काम करने वाले उनके साथ में जो उसके वाद विवाद थे, उसके चलते हुए ये वारदात को अंजाम दिया है।
There's been a big visa fraud that's been reported in India. US Embassy in India has basically flagged off involving the police in the country, asking them to investigate this massive visa fraud that they've cracked down through their embassies. So what we know is that the Delhi police now has registered a case against 31 people in this large-scale visa fraud racket. The action was taken on a complaint that was filed by the US Embassy in New Delhi's Chanakyapuri on the 27th of February. Accused, including visa agents and applicants who were allegedly involved in forging documents such as bank statements, educational certificates, and employment records to obtain US visas, were allegedly operating from Punjab, Haryana, and other states. The fraudulent activities reportedly took place between May and August 2024. US Embassy has highlighted 21 alleged instances of conspiracy between agents and applicants to cheat the US government. This comes right in time when Trump government now, we're looking at the deadliest crackdown, the harshest perhaps, a crackdown on immigrants, on especially those who may be unlawful and even lawful. We know what the scene is with green card holders. Even though they've got legally their green cards, many of them have been asked to leave. So amidst this crackdown, here we have a visa fraud that's erupted right in the heart of the national capital. The Delhi Embassy of the US has found several visa agents charging applicants anywhere between 1 lakh and 15 lakhs to arrange fake documents. In one such instance that was mentioned by the US Embassy, the agent promised to help the process of visa application for 13 lakh rupees in exchange. Several sections of the BNS has been slapped on those who've been arrested. Further raids continue. All right, we're looking at the United States as it moves forward with cracking down on several immigrants and they're deporting. Their drive continues unabated. Here's one such case that came to fore a day ago. The last 24 hours has been quite hectic for this man you see on your screens there. He's Indian. He's a Georgetown scholar. His name is Badr Khan Suri. And he was detained by the Trump administration over allegations of, quote-unquote, spreading Hamas propaganda on social media. So let me tell you, this man here basically has a wife who's of Palestinian descent. He's been researching on war extensively, on peace and diplomacy, etc., as part of his study. And he's put out some messages on social platforms. This the Trump administration has dubbed as promoting Hamas propaganda. So he reached out legally to the US court, and a court in Virginia, Judge Patricia, has basically blocked his deportation. The judge has outrightly said that there has to be legal proceedings, and that will continue. Until then, he cannot be deported. He's an Indian national. He was arrested earlier this week right outside his Virginia home. Sparked a huge legal battle now, and also a lot of talk around free speech in the United States. In a dramatic twist, Trump administration accused this man here of spreading lots of lies, etc., and basically pushing Palestine propaganda within the country. As I told you, he's an Indian citizen. His detention has sparked now outrage in several universities as well. Many civil rights groups have accused Trump administration of silencing dissent. This comes amid growing protests against US military support and aid to Israel at this point. Now, while Russia has agreed for temporary ceasefire, it's also issued a stern warning to Ukraine. Let me take you through. Ukrainians living in Russia and occupied Ukrainian territories must either leave by September 10th or regulate their legal status. This comes under a decree signed by the President Vladimir Putin, further cementing Moscow's control over occupied regions like Crimea and Donetsk. Experts see this as part of Russia's wider strategy, pushing Ukrainians out, forcing them to accept Russian passports, and settling Russian citizens in occupied lands. Kiev, meanwhile, strongly condemning this move, calling it yet another attempt to erase Ukrainian identity in that region. And one of the world's most busiest airports, London Heathrow Airport today, was practically shut down with 120 or 150 flights diverted because of a fire that broke out right in the vicinity. Massive fire, in fact, that completely grounded most flights. Let's take you through exactly what happened there.
Flight schedules around the world were sent into chaos on Friday as Britain's Heathrow Airport was shut after a huge fire at a nearby electrical substation knocked out its power. The blaze also knocked out the area's backup power station, leading to a mass outage at Europe's busiest airport and the world's fifth busiest. Heathrow said it had been due to handle 1,351 flights during the day, flying over 290,000 passengers. Some were left scrambling for alternative travel plans at London's main train stations.
It's my favourite city, but I need to be home.
Heathrow said the airport would be closed until midnight. John Strickland is an independent air transport consultant.
To have it out of action for 24 hours is a massive impact for aviation, massive impact for the UK economy. We see particular impact from long-haul flights which are already on their way to Heathrow and had to divert back to either their points of origin or numerous other airports. So some in the UK, some in Europe, some much further afield.
Industry experts also warned that some passengers forced to land in Europe may have to stay in transit lounges if they lack the visa paperwork to leave the airport. Global flight schedules will also be affected more broadly, as many aircraft will now be out of position. British Airways, the biggest carrier at Heathrow, had 341 flights scheduled to land there on Friday. The chaos hit shares in airlines including BA parent IAG, which dropped over 3% in morning trade. Lufthansa slipped 1.2%, while Air France KLM declined 2%.